Hey, so I'm going to do a tutorial on rolled hems and on whipped gathers. The whipped gathers that I do are running whipped gathers, which means that you keep all of the gathers all on your needle. So you're going to want a longer needle. I normally use a longer needle for hand sewing anyway, just because I like to have that kind of control. I feel like I have a better grip on the needle, and as you can see, like most of my hand needles, I'm kind of really hard on them, but it's turned, it's like all curved and jacked up, but it's thin and long. It's a nice thin long millinery needle, and you can use this needle or use whatever needle that you like the most. So for both of these tutorials, you're going to need to roll both edges. For the rolled hem, you need a single roll. See, this is just a single roll. Not sure if I can keep it in focus. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is a single roll here. For the other tutorial, you're going to need a double roll. So that's on the bottom. We'll turn around and do it on the bottom, but for the rolled hem, you need a single. So the first thing you're going to want to do is tie a knot. So what you'll do is kind of start at the end, the edge, and take a little bit of a stitch. It's maybe about a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch long. It's about an 1/8 of an inch, I guess. And pull your needle through. Get kind of to the end, and then make another stitch. But this stitch, you're going to kind of stagger it, go towards the center of the stitch that you just made. So it's more like a 1/16 of an inch long instead of an 1/8. And you're going to stitch again. Try to hold down your tail so that you don't pull your tail through the hole again. And so that's how I learned to make knots. Lots of people make different knots, but that's what I've learned. Then now you're going to start the stitching. So let's try to get it in focus. Oh my word. Okay, so you're going to come directly up from your stitch, like just completely vertically, and insert your needle into a single layer of your roll. And you're not going to go through the back. There's nothing going on in the back there. And it's kind of going to be a longer stitch. It's, more like 1/2 of an inch long. And come out through again, just, I don't know, man, this is hard. You're just going to go through just a single layer. Like I say, you're missing the back. And then pull your needle through. And this is kind of obvious, but maybe it's not obvious. I'm right-handed, so I'm working from right to left. If you were left-handed, you would be working from left to right, right? Okay, so you've come out here up at the top, and so now you're going to come directly below you and make a tiny stitch. You're just picking up a couple threads. And we're going to repeat this over and over and over again. This is basically the stitch. You're coming up through the roll, down through the roll kind of thing. So now you're going to go up through the roll and take a long stitch. Single layer through the fold. About 1/2 of an inch. So you're going to repeat this, all the way across your hem. And you're going to take a tiny stitch. come up through the roll, a long stitch. Down the roll, there's a tiny stitch. Up through the roll, long stitch. It keeps catching on the edge. And down through the roll, a tiny stitch. And like I say, you're just repeating this over and over and over again. Okay, we'll do a couple more so you can really see what it looks like when you pull the thread and it rolls on its own. It's pretty magical when it does it. So now we're coming up through the roll where we're taking a long stitch. The edge of the fabric is coming up and going down through the roll, taking a tiny stitch. You hear those birds out there? I have a bird feeder set up, and man, those little dinosaurs, they fight. It's hilarious. It's like World War III out there. Oh, it tied itself in a knot. Freaking jerk. And of course, when I pulled it, it started to roll on its own, whatever. Then, again. So, yeah, you get the idea. So basically, you're just making that stitch over and over and over again, and you're going to go all the way down, okay? So when you're done, let's finish off this stitch. When you've had your fill of making long stitches and small stitches, you can pull as you go, or you can kind of chance it and try to do it all at one time. Sometimes that doesn't really work out very well. But as you can see, we've got several pulls here to make. So you can kind of see the setup there. Then what you'll do is get a hold of your thread, and you'll just pull. And as you pull, the roll will happen all on its own. You see that? Then it'll kind of look a little bit puckery, but that's okay. Take it from the knot and smooth it out. You might have to help it turn on its own. You might have to kind of take your needle and make sure that all the threads are stuck up under there and it's rolled right. But as you can see, or maybe not. Oh, flip. But as you can see, that's a hand-done rolled hem. Okay, now let's move on, and I'll teach you the whipped gather. So, like I say, I'm right-handed. I'm working right to left. You're going to start this just like any other, just like the one before. We're down low, down below the roll, and we're taking a little bit of a stitch, leaving off a tail, and coming back halfway, going back up through the hole again, and tying a knot. You know, the trick of this thing, obviously, is to not pull your tail through, because then you'll just undo your knot. But that's a little knot there. Okay, see what I did? Little knot. So, okay, to do a whip gather, it's so simple. This first stitch is, obviously going to be different because we're starting down low. So what you're doing is you're coming up slightly, diagonal from your stitch. If you were thinking about the wefts and the weaves of the fabric, this is obviously parallel. This line here is parallel with the selvage. if you're imagining a 45-degree angle from the selvage, you want to come up diagonally from the selvage. Then, and you know, you're going through, my gosh, you're coming up diagonally through, like I said, 45 degrees, but it's very similar to the rolled hem in that you're skipping the front face, or you know, how you're holding it, the back